the front right side of the car. You've got to unscrew this. This is the air intake duct, this thing, so you know that's air in. The air comes into the car. That's a filter inside of this. That's the air cleaner housing into there and into the engine for combustion. Anyway, so just Phillips screwdriver, undo that. There are two clips over here, like one there and one there. They're metal. These things right there. Just clip them. This pops out. All right, you'd have to play with that a little bit. This pops out, and I'm just going to tuck it away up there. Bonus, that's the air filter, so if you need to change that, that comes out easy enough. Inside the housing, there are 3 bolts. I've already loosened them, taken them out. Just remove those 3 bolts. 1, 2, 3. There is over here. There's another. There's an intake hose. There's a small tab on it. I use a screwdriver, push it in, and this air intake. There it is, right there. That little tab, little air intake housing will come right out. Okay. I'll comment on the air intake housing. When I removed it, there it is. There. It was connected to this hose with this little fitting right there. Okay. So I just used a wrench, and I just compressed this tab. I don't think you can see it. Compressed the tab, and then was able to push the tab through that hole. Okay, so just for one. And one thing I'll mention right now, it's a good time to do that. What I do when I'm doing stuff like this, these are the 3 bolts that I took out of the air intake housing. I put them back where they were. That way, you don't have to. You never lose them, basically. If you could, so my rule is put the bolt back in, screw whatever where you got it from, because it'll help you remember that, for example, the air intake housing has to go back in there. All right. I'm gonna get rid of this air intake hose completely, so I've undone that screw, and there's a clamp. There's a clamp right back here. You just squeeze it, and this will come off. All right. I'm just at the front of the car. That's the front, so panning back. There's the radiator, okay, and now I'm looking straight on. I'm going to show the starter. That's the starter right there. It's in a very, very awkward spot, as you can tell. So there's a bolt that you remove in the back of that starter, behind where we can see right now, as well as the positive power supply from the battery and a bolt, a mounting bolt. And then there's another mounting bolt. Let me see if I can get it. Bear with me. There it is. Okay, so I've got to get a long extension in and get a socket onto that bolt, and then I can remove the starter, all right? So I'm going to remove this whole air filter housing. It's getting to be in the way. So there are 2 clamps on here, 1, 2. Just grab a pliers and pull off the housing. Right, I'm directly underneath the car, looking straight up. That's the starter. I think it's a solenoid actually, but I'll try to use my hand to see if I can get I can point at things. That bolt right there, that is there's a rubber cap on top of that. You pull that back. That is the connection to the battery, right? It supplies power to the starter. Take that off. There was this little connector which I've undone. It just slides in here. There's a small tab you depress. You have to play with it. Maybe stick a screwdriver in it, etc. Pop that out, and then the mounting bolt is right there. Okay, you can kind of see that. And you just get a socket on that and take it off. Right, so those bolts came out real easy. There's the mounting bolt, the battery bolt, battery connection bolt, and the electric cable. Okay. Better view of the starter. So I've taken it out. It was really straightforward. So a little easier to see now. That's the bolt that keeps the power cable to the battery in place. There's the electrical connector, and there's a little tab there. Like I said, you just press that with I press it with a screwdriver, it just pops out and then pull out. That is the one mounting bolt from this is from the left of the car, from the left to the right, and there's the one from the driver's side of the engine pointing toward the engine. Okay, so going in, and then you can see, just if you're interested, you know how this works. That's the starter. So that's a geared, well, it's a gear basically with teeth. That when you hit the ignition, that signals the battery to go to life. It opens up the circuit, closes the circuit, I should say, connecting to the starter. So the starter gears mesh with a flywheel inside of the to the side of the engine, and the starter turns the flywheel and cranks it, and gets the pistons firing, and the car starts up. Okay, so I'm able to see the flywheel now. Like I pulled this out of the engine mount, the engine, and I saw the flywheel. So we're getting closer to home. I've got to remove all the various hoses and things like lines that are attached to the transaxle. What I'm going to do now is I want to drop the transaxle off the engine, so therefore everything that's connected to it, and there's a lot of stuff, needs to be unbolted. Okay, the first thing down here, this is the ground strap. So there's a cable from the battery that mounts right onto the transaxle as a ground. It's a 12mm bolt. There's another one down there. There's a second strap that bolts to the bottom. That's again 12mm. Moving on to the side, there's a thing called the harness. The harness is all the various hoses that run around the side of the car. These are also 12mm bolts. So there's two of them. There's one here. This is hard to get out. You'll just have to get in there and just figure it out. And there's another one right there. I've left the socket on to make it easier for me to explain this stuff. So that's the harness. That should be everything. There is the clutch line, which is this thing here. So the clutch is it's a hydraulic system that's fed from over here. There's a master cylinder, and when you press on the clutch pedal, hydraulic fluid runs through that clutch line. It eventually gets to the slave cylinder, the release cylinder we talked about earlier. So it releases the clutch. There are a couple of bolts on there that attach the clutch line to the car. So I've got one down there. That's a 14mm bolt, okay, that connects the clutch line there, and there's another one you can see where I've got that shiny socket on the back. That's a 15mm bolt in the back. So, yeah, it's a bolt. Undo that. The last thing to do on the top of the transaxle is this thing here. That is the reverse light, the backup light they call it. So when you put the car into reverse, that electrical signal goes from here into the backup lights in the back of the car. Right? So one last thing I didn't mention, there's an electrical connection here. This is the where I just put right there. That is the backup light. Okay, so if you put the car into reverse, that sends that's the transaxle down there. That sends an electrical signal from here to the back of the car to turn on the reverse light. Okay, the white light in the back of the car. So just there's a little there's a tab in there to press. You might need to use a wrench. Just do that. One last little thing, I found a little bolt. There's connecting the harness back here to the top of the transaxle. So as I'm dropping it, that harness is preventing me, so I'm going to take that off.